Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are now listening to Carlie's Couch.
Dun, 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 dun.
And so today we want to start out by saying thank you to the listeners. As always, we got some new reviews in, and we got one that we want to read today. And we want you to keep leaving them. Leave us 5 stars, leave us reviews. Carlie, who hit us up this time?
Man, it's Tay Shelley. What's up? Thank you so much for the review. She said, Carlie's Couch never fails to provide authentic, relevant, and challenging content. With so many places to get the tea, listening to Carlie and Lex feels like finding an oasis where the fresh water we really need flows freely. If y'all can't tell, she's a poet.
Right, and you can also tell us one of Carlie's friends, because all her friends come in here writing sonnets and stuff, but it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, no, she's a poet and she can freestyle her
really?
behind off. Oh, yeah. When she comes
cool.
on about, she's going to have to freestyle. We going to make her.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Mm-hmm. And then, so what are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about one of my favorite things in the whole wide world, play.
Play as in what?
Play as in playing like little kids on the playground, playing like outside with your kids, playing outside with your dog, with your friends, like kicking back in the backyard, like after a long day, just having fun, playing games, laughing.
And you know what? That actually is important. I think it's something that we might not think about often. So for the listeners, I want you to stay tuned because I have been reading about play recently as well. So this is kind of synchronistic in that, you know, even as a working adult, you have to take time to just do things that don't have any merit. It can be productive, but it's not like you're doing it for any particular reason. And that's what kind of makes it play. And sometimes that's when you get like your best ideas, or sometimes that's when you just allow your body to relax the most. So it is still important as adults for us to play. Which I'm trying to figure out how to do.
And so that's perfect for my first question. So it's, when is the last time that you played? Like played?
Well, can we talk about what play means to you as far as literal things that you do first?
Well, I was looking for a definition, like a technical definition. And there's this doctor who, I'll mention his name later, but he like has TED Talks and writes books and all these things about play. And he said that play is something done for its own sake. It's voluntary, pleasurable, offers a sense of engagement. It takes you out of time. And the act itself is more important than the outcome.
Okay, but literally what activities would you say for like playing?
For
so
myself?
If you're asking me like, when's the last time I played? What is that kind of things are those?
I can tell you for me, but I think it looks different from person. That's person to person. That's kind of why I was like hesitant to tell you what I do, because my play is different than your play.
Okay. So, when's the last time I played? I would say maybe the last time I just sat down and watched TV. Does that count?
Is it just done for the sake of enjoyment?
Yep. Okay. That doesn't sound like play. Does play have to be active?
I don't think so. I think we'll get a little bit more into the technical definitions, but I think that a lot of us come across that. Like, what if I asked you, when is the last time that you played? It's kind of like, maybe this thing, and does this even count as play?
I'm trying to think of what else. The crazy thing is, now that I write so much stuff in my planner, I literally have to like look and see what I did to remember what those last things were. And maybe going out to like a basketball game or going to do something, that should be play.
I would say mine is last week. So I volunteer with kids. So I kind of cheat. It's easy to cheat whenever you work with kids. And so we were playing Uno last week. But before that, I also like to take myself on quote unquote artist dates. Thank you to the Artist Way for that. But what that means is just little things that I'm interested in that I want to go do. And so I took myself to the Contact High exhibit at the Annenberg Space for Photography, which is phenomenal. It's in LA right now if you haven't seen it. But then I also was just like walking by and saw a park. And so I like got on the swing. And so I just played.
Okay.
But it's like, why are we even thinking about this or talking about play? That's kind of what inspired the episode.
The fact that you thinking back to that time you spent.
So thinking back to that. And then also when I was in business school, I took a class called Fostering Creativity. And one of the activities we did in the class is play. Like we brought in a quote unquote play specialist and he ran a whole workshop and they talked about why it's important. And I was like, that's such a valid question because people would be like, well, you did what in an MBA course? And it's like, well, why can't we also pour into that side of our lives?
And how many years ago was that?
That was in 2017.
So was that one of the first times you really thought about like play as a thing as an adult? Or not necessarily?
Well, it's the first time I mean, I always do it because I'm a big kid. Like, I'm a big-ass kid. And so I like playing in general. But I never thought about, like, the necessity of it for adults.
Right. That's what I mean by the difference. That not did you never do anything, but did you actually think about or where you start to be intentional about the play?
Yeah.
At that point.
Starting to be intentional and making sure it was in my schedule because, like you talked about, you know, and reading about play and why it's important, I realized, like, oh, man, like, this is actually vital to enjoying life and being a big part of the bigger picture. So I started doing some research and I came across like why people play or like why should adults play, because it's really hard to explain to people, especially in this economy and in these times, like why it's important to spend, you know, X amount of time per week or just pouring into yourself in something that's not of monetary value necessarily and doesn't have a direct outcome. And it talked about how there's a book that's like people's 5 regrets in dying. And all of them are like, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends. I wish I'd let myself be happier, had the courage to express my true self and live my dreams instead of doing what others expected of me. And so I was like, man, like it's so vital and important and nobody's talking about it. Even on Twitter, because Twitter is news and all of that.
Is Twitter play?
I don't think so. For me, it's not.
And so that's why I want to talk about like what play looks like too, because again, before we go so deep into why it's good and all of that, like what are some things for you that you would consider as play?
So for me, it's things that I enjoy doing and having fun. Like I like going to Dave & Buster's and playing actual games.
How
like
often do you do
card
that?
Games. I don't go to Dave & Buster's that often, but I do play games like sports, like volleyball, card games, different things, probably like at least once every other week.
Okay. So that's what I was trying to get. That's all, like just from the surface quickly, kind of like what does that look like and how often? Like, is it something you think about trying to do regularly, or it's just that's just a part of, you know, what ends up happening?
I try to put time in my schedule to play at least once a week. So like when we're like looking in our planners and writing things down, like I try to give myself at least like 2 30-minute blocks or like a little bit longer of a date just to go do something for fun that has nothing to do with anything else.
Okay. I just started reading Designing Your Life. Is it Designing Your Life or Designing My Life?
Designing Your Life.
Designing Your Life, the book. And then in one of the first few chapters, it asks you to see where you are first, because as we always say, you have to know where you are to understand like what you're trying to get to. And so they have an exercise where there's these dashboards, and almost like if you order from Domino's, you know, the Domino's tracker, how it like goes up like, as it's getting ready. So it has like a little dashboard for work, for play, for health, and for maybe spirituality, I believe. And so all of them were very easy for me. I noticed, like with work, it's like, what are you doing for work? It's not, you just kind of talk first, write out what you do for work, and then how full do you feel on that scale? And really, I got to the play one, and that's why I wanted to hear your ideas about what play looks like for you, because I was just like, I didn't even know what to write when it was like, okay, play, what do you do? What things do you do? And I literally think I wrote down, and I have the book right here, but I think I wrote down something like when I'm binging like Netflix, HBO Go, or art days with my friends and like socializing from time to time with the crew. But the fact that I just couldn't think of anything off the top of my head, because like you said, like, okay, playing cards, stuff like that, obviously cool. But like also, when's the last time I played cards? I don't know. So for that one, I only put, it was a third full. And then I was just kind of intrigued by my own answer, because I'm like, dang, I didn't realize I couldn't think of anything. Like, what do I do that's just for fun? And I even hate that on like dates and stuff too. Like, oh, what do you do? Like, I don't know. Like, everything is cool to me. Like, I like doing my work and I like doing, you know, everything in all these places. But if I just think about, okay, am I not getting anything out of it and I do it, like, what is that? And it was very, very few things. So when you brought up play as something to talk about, I'm interested in learning more about why it's important and just thinking of ways to incorporate it. Because maybe I do do a lot of things. Like every once in a while I'll paint or, I go out and do things sometimes. But now, like you're saying with your class, now I'm just now starting to think intentionally about it. So I don't want people to be like, damn, you don't do nothing. But like, I never thought about it in that way and as something to really just like focus on for a time, as something beneficial. And then just to add on to the synchronicity, yesterday I think I just randomly kind of picked up a different book just because sometimes I just want to switch it out just to switch my brain up. And I was reading Steal Like an Artist. And then they had a section in there, too, where he talks about, well, he has 2 desks. One desk where he has his computer and electronic things, and another desk that doesn't have any electronics, where it's just like papers and Play-Doh and markers, things like that. And so taking the time to sometimes just like doodle and, do those types of things to keep your brain fresh or get fresh ideas instead of kind of just looking at a computer all the time. So he was kind of talking about the importance of, play and just being intentional about using your hands and things like that too.
Yeah.
So that's my backstory of why I keep being like, well, what is play to you? So hopefully as you get into like why it's important, we can also come up with some, I don't know, maybe things and ideas to do.
Yeah, definitely. And I like that it's being intentional about it. I'm still very much learning. Like, let me not act like I always have play in my schedule because I don't, but I at least think about it, and it's all because of that class. So just like these books sparked that for you, which they're both phenomenal books. I'm also reading Designing Your Life right now. Was that your lowest dashboard?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
What was yours? This is now off.
I was about to say, I think mine was work, but not because. And it's interesting because in
my
hindsight,
work was like 98%.
It's like, but not because I'm not doing a lot of work. It's because I feel like I'm doing a lot of things that were not in alignment with what I want my work to be.
Oh, so you did your dashboard based on like how you feel about the area. I did it by like how many things do I like by what you're doing.
Yeah.
So because to me, I read it that they were saying like, well, what are you doing in these areas? And so I was like, yeah, that's full. Like,
yeah, no, that's full that way. But then like on the quality of like how I feel about it, because all of mine were pretty high. But that so yeah, play. Outside of games and things like in my life, like I doodle a lot. I color. Whenever it's interesting because I thought that your dashboard for that would be higher because in my head I'm like, oh, you do art days, you paint, like things like that.
Yeah, but that's what I put down. So that's literally all I had down was like, well, when I would do art days, but that'll be like every couple weeks or something, which is fine. Maybe that is more, but to me, in correlation with everything else too, I'm not doing that much play.
Yeah.
Like I'm not out that much.
And so we'll get into what that can look like and maybe think through some things that each of us can maybe implement into our play routines. But also I wanted to talk a little bit about the science behind it because, like I said, I understand it's really hard to not do things when there's not, quote unquote, an outcome. So I want to talk a little bit about why it's important to play. And so it helps relieve stress. So anytime that you're working with your hands, anytime that you're fully involved in something, like when you're playing basketball or painting or doing something that you love, your body automatically releases out of like your fight or flight, which allows your body to like rest, digest, like do all of those things that we don't give ourselves time to do. It also helps improve brain function. Like if you're doing any puzzles or anything like that, interacting with other people, like with family and friends, like sometimes, depending on the family and friends, I guess, it can help you to de-stress and de-escalate things that are happening in your life. And then one of my favorite ones is it also helps boost your creativity. Like if you're ever feeling like you're stuck, like you are working on a project and you don't know what to do, or you have writer's block and you're trying to write a blog, like play. Like literally set some time aside to go play so you can free up all of that stress and anxiety in your mind and make space for new things to grow.
Some of these make me think too about like working out or going to the gym. Does that count as play?
I don't think
because that's probably when I enjoy that time with the trainer, the other people. I enjoy moving around. It relieves stress as well. I always feel better after I feel good going in there.
Yeah, and like you dance and you talk noise and you can have fun and do different stuff. So I think that it can be play, but I know a lot of people working out is not playing. Like it's like very either on opposite ends of the spectrum, like you're really trying to get started and it sucks for you and you hate it. And then there's some people who go in and they're trying to sculpt their bodies and do different things. But as long as like, I think both of us are kind of in the middle. So it's
based on your enjoyment of it as well?
Yeah, your enjoyment and your intention behind it. Like you're going to work out, but also to feel good and to pour into yourself. And it's okay however the day turns out.
Okay.
And so I think not having a lot of pressure on yourself. It also helps you get energy. Like if you ever think about, in my head, why kids have so much energy is they play all day. Like think about when we were little running around outside. It's like you had never ending, well, at least I ran around outside, had like never ending energy until I came home.
Or do you have energy and that's why you're running around all day?
It's like chicken before the egg. I think both.
Okay.
I think both, but I feel a lot more energetic like in my adult self whenever I'm doing things that stimulate me that aren't necessarily just for money.
Okay. I think don't feel that.
So you don't feel,
like, okay.
So you don't feel energetic after painting or having an art day?
No, not necessarily. Or not that I don't feel energized. I don't not feel energized from things I do all day. Like working, I feel very energized. I feel most energized when I'm being productive. And that doesn't necessarily have to be for an intention, because I was thinking about this also the other day that for me, I'm productive in my like even rest time and my chill time. So like I'm planning all those times, but that's all productive to me because it's in my plan is I'm chilling. Like I'm focused on this thing. And for me, so I feel energized like if I'm like doing what I say. So it's not necessarily like the things. There's a lot of tasks I don't like doing because I don't enjoy them. And so I'm not energized there. But with all of my tasks that if I enjoy doing them, so like, or maybe I'm just lucky in that I enjoy a lot of the things I get to get paid for.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's not like work is like the big drain and play is like the big energizer.
Yeah. No, I can see that.
Maybe I get to have a kind of playful work, but I don't know if that counts either.
I think also because you enjoy it. I think that's the key is like doing things that you enjoy, which sometimes, I mean, you have to do tasks that you don't enjoy, like even as business owners and things that we're doing. But I'm thinking of this stark difference, like of when I'm teaching classes or when I'm pitching or helping other people like do ideation and things with their businesses versus like when I was working in engineering. Like I would go home and just be so drained. Like I couldn't do anything. It was miserable. Like literally if I came home and sat down, I wouldn't get up. And so I would just come home, change, and then go straight to the gym because that's the only way I could keep moving. Whereas now, like after any of those things, I'm hyped. And it's like, yeah.
Maybe that's something for the individual to pay attention to, because one of the exercises, again, in that book is, putting down what you're working on and then how you feel about that. So even if you include not just within work tasks, but like within what you're doing throughout the day to see what energizes you the most, maybe for you, something may be considered play or something relaxing or chill that maybe not for the next person.
And it's very individual and it's also on perspective. But I love that the little gauges in the book because it helps you be more mindful of all the activities that you're doing. And if you have a really big energy drain, you can kind of redirect your resources and maybe delegate something or pay somebody else to do that one thing for you so it doesn't suck all the life out of you for that day.
Which I did yesterday.
Good. Look at you.
Yep. All those things, I was like, man, these are the most draining things. Hand it off. So, yeah, hoping I have more energy every day as I do my work now. But back to play.
Okay, so Stuart Brown is the person I was talking about earlier, MD. He wrote the book. It's called Play. He has an awesome TED Talk on it. But he describes different types of play. And so maybe this will also help us think through. And so one of them is rough and tumble play. And it's like scavenger hunts, kickball, dodgeball, like things where you're playing actively that helps with holistic mastery in your body. So cognitive, emotional, physical, cooperation, like working with other people, like anything that's fun and like gets your blood going. So like one is like rough and tumble play.
Okay. I like that. I mean, and is this guy talking about for adults specifically?
The book Play is focused for adults.
Okay.
But I think he just talks about the whole spectrum of it.
Okay.
Another one is ritual play. And so it's things where we strategize and engage in activities that bring people together for a goal. So like think chess or a board game, or maybe like capture the flag where you kind of have to work with a team to do something and start thinking about it. The fun one that I think most adults probably do the least in my head would be imaginative play. And so storytelling, which actually is huge and a lot of adults do, so maybe not, because there's so many
all
businesses
of these
in
are my work
storytelling.
and imaginative. That's all things that reflect in the work I do every day.
What are those things?
As far as storytelling, crafting, developing like scripts, video, content type stuff like that, developing messaging for different audiences, and coming up with the creative, like all of that to me is where I'm more so brainstorming and like getting ideas down that are around me, like imagining or just like letting my ideas go.
Yeah, I can see that for a lot of creatives in general, people who work in art spaces, marketing, different things like that. And I can also see why that would be energizing, like using your imagination. For a lot of regular, I was about to say like monotonous like careers, I feel like that would be harder. So if you're doing the same thing every day, like accounting, perhaps it might not be as much. And maybe that's an area where you can try to challenge yourself to play more. This next one, no pause, body play. But it's like yoga, Pilates, even though that's interesting that yoga's on here. Riding roller coasters, hiking, snorkeling, like anything where you move your body in a different way. I would put dancing on here. I'm surprised that it's not. I feel like dancing is play and moving and having fun. I'm going to go salsa dancing soon or something like that. And then object play, so building things, Legos, Jenga, fortresses, like snowball fights, like using objects and different things to build. And those are just some different types of play, but I mean, they all fall under the play category. So if one crosses multiple of those or one doesn't fit in there, it still is considered play.
Okay. So I can think of things I've done and do within all of those. It's just not, like I said, a regular or intentional thing, I don't think.
Why do you think that we don't play as much as adults?
Because I think that we prioritize time towards providing and taking care of perceived needs that are more important, more than the play.
Yeah, that's kind of in alignment with what I was thinking. I was also like, you feel like you're wasting time, wasting money. Like time is money, and if I'm not using it, get money, then I'm just wasting it, and I'm never going to be a billionaire like so and so. And so it's like hustle, hustle, hustle. But it's like you also have to find ways to fill your cup so that you can keep hustling, or at least build play into your everyday so that you can continue making money and that. So if you love storytelling, maybe you need to figure out something in the creative field where you can do that and get paid for it.
And then things like video games fall into this too, right? Like literally playing games, maybe travel sometime, maybe getting to places like museums and going out. So it seems like it's a wide spectrum. It seems like you're almost saying anything that you do that you enjoy that's not necessarily for money.
Or doesn't have a specific outcome. Like you're not going to the art museum to just do X, Y, Z, because then I think also there's like some type of expectations. Even though I would argue like playing sports, like I'm trying to win, so then there's that.
Well, not within the game, like that's playing within the game, but like if you have to do it, so like for an NFL player, is that play? Like that's where it's different, maybe.
Yeah, I was about to say if it's a job,
like why you have to be there or why you are there, not that you want to lose or win necessarily, like in the game,
but why you're there. Yeah. So here are some ways to inject play into your everyday. One is like schedule time for a hobby. So thinking of something that you've always wanted to do and just doing it. If you've wanted to try glass blowing or learning how to garden, like go take a class or go watch some YouTube videos and then go to Home Depot and buy some stuff and try it at home for yourself. And contrary to what Twitter says, not all of your hobbies have to be paid. Like you don't have to monetize everything. Some things can be just for you.
Yeah, that's important. Oh, I guess I'll continue on.
Yeah, she will.
With the ways to inject play into your day. Get social support. So hang out with your friends, and it doesn't have to be all like popping bottles. But you can get together, play sports. I know some of my friends get together on certain weekends and they'll go work out together, like at a park. Or we'll go to, like I said earlier, to the museum together, movies, whatever it is. But sometimes just taking the time out to hang out, meet without it being like an agenda, and like actually getting moving, especially too, is a good way to incorporate more play.
And playing games, and that can be like there's games on the iPhone. You can do that. I know a lot of people with Apple Watches, they like to challenge each other on getting their circles closed. I don't have an Apple Watch, but I always hear people like, dang, they got me this morning or something like that. So it's good, like even racing your friends, like if they take the elevator and you running up the stairs. I'm childish, so I do a lot of things like that. Be beating Lala and everything. Y'all ask her.
You can also get outside, obviously, so parks, playgrounds. I think that taking walks is really good and refreshing, like throughout the day. Never thought of that as play, but it's good to just get out and get fresh air. Also, it's so interesting to me how in American society we do not have as much outdoor equipment as in a lot of other countries. Like I know in Asia and in a lot of places they have so many like equipment things like out and about outside, and then they do at some of our parks. But like, you can get on and like move and like so it's kind of like exercising with your body weight, but it's also movement. So it just seems also like a kind of a cultural thing sometimes where you need to get up and get out and just like get moving a little bit more.
And just cause like it doesn't have to be for I'm only doing this because I got to lose 10 pounds or I'm running 5K. Like that's great. Keep doing those things, but also just do it to have fun. And not everybody's going to like everything. And so, like I said, my play is not going to look like hers or yours. So find what works for you. And I think just being more intentional with your time overall is a way to play. If it is watching a little bit of TV in the day or listening to something like comedy when you're driving, just to have some fun and kind of enjoy it. Just making sure that you're more mindful with every single day and enjoying it and being present.
Yeah, that's important. So I think for the most part, I've learned now to be more intentional. So I'm aware of, oh, this is playtime, or let me fully make this a playtime and maybe turn one of these other things off, or, you know, whatever it is. Because looking at my schedule and the way I do plan my week, I do have time for certain things with friends or time off. I'm just not actually planning what I'm doing during that time. So I have to think more about that now. Yeah. So maybe I do play more than I thought.
Yeah. And it also doesn't have to be something grand. Like she said, like walking around outside. Like in my workout, sometimes I'll try different drills and things. Cause I'm like, oh, that looks like fun. Like, let me see if I can do it. Just adding like little things to make life more fun and also to get more creative. Because I think, at least for myself, I can be so hard on myself with how I'm spending my time or my productivity. Like I do get energized by that, but I also get down if I'm not as productive as I'd like to be. And so just, you know, being a little bit kinder to ourselves and laughing a little bit more, because laughter is great medicine. And according to Albert Einstein, I actually wrote it down today so I don't mess up my quotes. I've been struggling lately if I ever get there. There we go. Play is the highest form of research.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And so just exploring, I challenge you. That's my challenge this week. Get out and play. Screenshot, hashtag Carlie's Couch, at Carlie's Couch on Twitter and Instagram. Let us know how you're playing or how you inject play into your days.
Or put in your stories when you're playing. So like this week while you're playing, like think about it and you be intentional about it this week and do a shot and show us. Like if you're playing T-ball right now, if you're playing Uno, whatever it is, like when you throw that in your story, hashtag Carlie's Couch or use our @, and then put like playtime on it. I just want to see different ideas of other ways that adults play also.
Oh, I like that. And I mean, it's great to be inspired by other people. So if you don't know how to play, check out the hashtag, see what other people are doing, and maybe be able to find something new that you can do in your days.
That's what I'm going to do.
Hey. And so that's all we have for play. Like Lex said, screenshot, let us know what you're doing for playtime this week. And we have a shout out this week to Frankesha Watkins of BPolished Beauty Supply. What's up, Keisha? It's a black women-owned beauty supply in Arlington, Texas. She opened, I believe, last year or this year, but has been flourishing. I love seeing your growth, seeing all the people coming into your store. So if y'all are in Dallas or Fort Worth, check her out, BPolished Beauty Supply.
That's good. And to go to a black-owned beauty store as well, because we are definitely the number one consumers there.
100%.
Do you have any question? And this week, our question is, have you forgiven yourself? Go ahead, Carlie.
I was about to flip that back. I would say that I have. And for me, that's for the times that I know like I either messed up or could have done better or didn't show up as my best self, and that I kind of like am hard on myself about. Like I'm actively forgiving myself and letting go of those things as they come up every day.
Okay. And I would answer that by saying I am forgiving myself as things come up or as I get epiphanies or I make realizations about things that I made mistakes about or maybe just things I'm holding on to that I don't need to hold on to. So, yeah, I am. Anytime I kind of get an idea or a thought, then I try to take it that direction. So I'm not really harping on it per se, but usually it's when I'm thinking about something somebody else is doing and then I realize what that looks like in me. And then in forgiving myself, I'm also easily like forgiving them. So that's typically like how that looks for me.
Nice. So are you forgiving yourself, or have you forgiven yourself?
That's all we got for you today. We're going to keep it nice and short and sweet and see if y'all listen to the whole 30 minutes of this podcast episode.
This might be the first one.
Right. This is probably the shortest one, but I think that's good because we got through all the information and I learned a lot about play. So let us know again how you like the episode. Please leave 5 stars. Leave us a review. We're going to read them more often. We're going to engage with you in the email. So be sure you check that on Mondays. Peace.
Bye, y'all.